Hi, it's Leela, the proud poly kinky queer slut. Today's question is, how do you manage communication between your various lovers? And answer to that is, I don't. I don't manage their communication between my lovers. That is between them. That is in their individual relationships. And I'm fortunate. We had a house party this past weekend that was just a gaming party, like tabletop gaming. And at one point, I had six people who I have intimate relations with and I consider lovers in the same room at the same table, along with people I do not consider my lovers, who are just other friends and people who we know in our community. And it was no big deal. I do, take some precautions to make sure I'm conscious of people's feelings. For example, this is something that works for me because my poly is very much a friends with benefits and non-traditional relationships and relationship anarchist style of polyamory, where each of these individual relationships is its own thing, and there are several other connections in this group. So several of the people in the room were also there with multiple lovers, and some of them even five or six, and they were not necessarily the same people in the room who were my lovers. So that the nature of my poly makes it easier. And if your polyamory is different, you're probably going to have different rules about that, different things that work for you. I also do try to be conscious of, not going out of my way to make people jealous or feel awkward, but also not artificially imposing rules on myself or other people. So, for example, one of the people who I consider a friend and lover wanted to cuddle on the couch and just sat next to me and nuzzled into me, and I just held them for a while, and that felt really good, and we were smiling and watching people play music, and that was really positive. But generally, I'm not overly affectionate with any of my lovers in front of my spouse. um, it's just, I don't care to make them uncomfortable that way. It's individual depending on the circumstance and the people involved, but that's what's working for me right now. So yeah, in short, personalized and catered. But I find that by living openly and by having all of my relationships be very much, I call it gaming table poly, where everybody knows who's in what connections, and more importantly, none of those relationships involve any ownership of what I do with my body. So none of them have any grounds um, to limit how I interact with other people, either in that room or elsewhere, or even necessarily to know who I'm sleeping with and who I'm not. That's something I confide in my friends if I want to, and it's not something that I have an obligation to confide to anybody, including my wife. Um, so that makes it easier because it's just less of a big deal. It becomes not the primary factor. The primary factor is each individual person and how they're enjoying interacting with these other humans, and not how they're all tied through me. That's not what it's about. Um, so anyway, I hope that answers your question, and thank you very much for asking it. I'm Leela, the proud poly kinky queer slut. Have a nice day. Remember, you can ask me anything.